Welcome. This is the Living Library, and my name is Michael Schumann. I am the founder of the Karmic Margin Call Project Time Bank, and we are the sponsors of the Living Library Project. So that being said, any hours that you spend listening to any of the Living Library conversations, you may log as a service provided. You are providing the service, you are actively listening, you are presencing yourself to the person that is speaking. So today's conversation is going to be a little bit uncomfortable. So we're talking with my friend Ellen and her friend Thiska as she tells us what is going on in her world and what has happened in her life over the last couple years in the Netherlands. So Ellen is a survivor of a satanic pedophile network. So as I say that, please be aware that my purpose is not to convince you that such an organization exists or that I'm trying to expose this organization. My purpose in sharing this with you today is to share the journey of my friend who really needs a lot of help. So I'm going to be sharing a few resources here with this video, and I will be sharing Ellen's website as well. If you feel compelled to donate, that's wonderful. If you honestly cannot donate anything financially, or if you feel that there's any fear around supporting this type of initiative, please reach out to me, because in the next couple of months, as I am developing this Living Library project and developing the Time Bank, there is going to be an opportunity for all of us to be able to steward financial capital, to help people like Ellen, to be able to serve whatever causes that we are most passionate about. So at the end of the video of Ellen and Thiska, they mentioned just sharing this conversation, with two people that you trust. And at the end of that conversation, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk a little bit about why we can't really rely on technology or on digital communication. But if you just reach out to two people that you trust, let them know that, hey, I'm sharing this with you. I just want to have a conversation about it. I just want to normalize talking about things that are very uncomfortable talking about. So if those two people, have that conversation with you and they do the same thing, share it with others, that's all we're asking, is that you develop the relationship with people that you trust. And if that expands 2 by 2 by 2, it's very logical that this message could reach 1 million people in 20 days, because 2 becomes 4, becomes 8, becomes 16. So and that might be a little bit too fast of an acceleration for us. There's still a lot of fear in being able to have those conversations. But in your own time, please reach out to somebody you trust and share this conversation. So I'm gonna put the conversation in now with Ellen and Thiska. So I had to do a recording of this from my camera. I played it on my computer, my laptop, and I used this camera to videotape it. So the sound quality is pretty good. The visuals, the video itself is still a little rough. But I'm also going to share the original link to that conversation here on this page on roguecounselor.com. So without further ado, here is Ellen and Thiska.
Welcome. Hello, I'm Ellen. This is Thiska, who's been helping me a lot. We're going to answer some questions that Michael sent us. Thiska's going to start by giving you a brief overview, and then I'm going to explain in my own words a bit about my own current situation. So we're going to start with Thiska. Thanks. Alright, so as a whistleblower of a global pedophile network and satanic ritual abuse, with her perpetrators in every, or even in the Justice Department, you can imagine that they rather see her gone or as weak and dependent as possible. So her life is in serious danger. She has been gradually kicked out of the system, now unable to just get a job, rent a house, receive government funding, receive basic health care, etc. On top of that, she has been hunted, poisoned, harassed, and had many attacks on her life. She's been thrown off Facebook, hacked in multiple ways, digitally sabotaged, you name it. And I can't go into all the details now, but that means that for safety reasons, she cannot just stay on anyone's private property in a guest room. She needs to be able to leave on her own as soon as possible. When needed, she can't stay in a dorm with multiple people. And for health and recovery reasons, she needs a good bed and a solid, safe room that can be locked. She tried to get back into the system, to start from scratch, but so far it all failed. And she's still healing from all the trauma, at the moment mostly physically. So she is in need of the basics, like healthy food, healthcare, and a good and safe place to sleep. That unfortunately means hotels most of the time. That's the safest, because there are many other guests, so it's more difficult for network to pull tricks like poisoning, Wi-Fi blocks, power outages, or other accidents. Staying on private properties in countryside areas, for example, seems great, but is rarely an option because it's just way more dangerous, not just for Ellen. She had tried it before and that failed miserably. So if you want to donate, please visit eyesonellen.com, and on the homepage you'll see Ellen's bank information. Be mindful of the fact that we have to make the flow of donations public. This way, the donations are most likely to actually come through. Because if everyone can check if their money came through, it's harder for network to block or sabotage the money flows. It will simply draw too much attention and make Ellen seem too credible, and those are two things that network wants to avoid at all times. Since we started to post donation overviews, the money sabotage really diminished. Transparency is key. It's why we started the whole Eyes on Ellen thing. We cannot do these things hidden or in the dark anymore, because it will bite you in the ass eventually. Since a lot of you are not from the Netherlands, I would like to explain a little bit about my current situation. So what I've been doing in these past few months is I've been creating a shitload of art when I was in a hiding place, to at least establish that I'm very well capable of making beautiful paintings. The aim was to sell those to provide for myself, but the minute I try to open a website so I can sell my art, I'm unable to create website, access the website. If I post it on YouTube, people are not able to respond on YouTube. The only way I've been able to sell a few paintings is because people had contacted Thiska, and Thiska then contacted me. I went to the local government in the place that I had stayed for 5 months, where people knew me as a very normal person, tried to get help. The most difficult thing about this is that I've been trafficked to people who are very high up in the Dutch Justice Department, like really high up. So going to the police, I've tried it. I've tried to press charges in the Netherlands, in Spain, and in Ireland. But this always ends up in me either having to run because I would not be alive the next day, or they flat out refuse. So for all Americans, just to explain, in the Netherlands, the minute you say anything about a high political official being involved in a child trafficking network or anything about satanic ritual abuse, that is considered something that either does not exist, satanic ritual abuse, or that is so sensitive that they have a special department. So no matter what police department I would go to, first you would get a normal police officer, but then they are instructed from higher up to immediately direct your, hoe zeg je aanklacht, aangifte. Like the pressing charges, you cannot do that with them. You are referred to their special department. And the same goes for mental health care. All the organizations that the Netherlands has to help people out with housing, homelessness, or stuff like this have a requirement that you're required to accept the help of a licensed psychiatrist the minute you express that it's about high up politicians or satanic ritual abuse. You're referred to specialists who are trained to do this. But due to Dutch law, this also means that you give up your life to them, so they will then have a say on your life, which means that if they are buying the network, if they work for the network or are corrupt in any way, they can give you it's called in Dutch an inbewaring plaatsing. It's like being on hold, which literally means you lose the right to have the decision on your own medical choices, and you do not get to decide what happens to your body. So you can be locked up indefinitely and be drugged against your will. When I went to the local government to ask for help, all of the options they came were either go to the police. I said I cannot go to the police because they are my problem. Go to the shelter, but the shelter has required that I at least have to sign that I will agree to their psychiatrists on the long run if they feel the need to it, which is ridiculous because I told them right in the very first day that that is not an option because those are the people that are the most dangerous to me. I cannot send emails. My emails get blocked, my phone gets blocked, my Wi-Fi gets cut off, my bank statements are changing. So the coffees that I've been drinking every day at normal little restaurants so that I would have a paper trail of where I was and people who can prove that I was there is now also in jeopardy because my Dutch bank account is changing all the dates of my bank statements. I've currently booked, through the help of donations of normal people, I've booked a hotel in Amsterdam. I'm going to stay in this area because there's a lot of hotels. So it's harder for them to block hotels. I've paid for my own accommodation now until Tuesday. I have money for one more day. And after that, if no money comes, I'm on the streets and they got me. So, despite of what people will want you to believe that I'm enjoying staying in hotels, it's a fucking nightmare. I'm physically very unwell. I need to see a doctor quite urgently because the poisoning that happened in Spain twice has really destroyed something in my abdomen that I'm still recovering from. And ever since I was a kid, I have really bad joint pains. So being on the run with a backpack that is 20 kilos also means that I have to pick accommodations that I can access by foot, which means that it has to be within 500 or meters or 1 kilometer of a public transport point, like a train or a bus stop. Because I also have to take a lot of shit with me wherever I go. I cannot leave my phone, my food, my phone chargers, all that stuff in hotel rooms because they will get infected or I get drugged again. So I have to carry a lot of weight with me even when I go grocery shopping, which makes this whole process quite complicated. And on top of that, despite of what you might think, hotels really usually have shitty beds. So I'm very often in a lot of pain and hardly able to walk, or I can walk, but it's difficult. We're being targeted on many fronts. There's also quite a lot of awesome people helping. Thank you for that. But since we want to spread like the risk and make it as hard for a network as possible to target people that are helping me. That's why I thought my current living situation means that it costs about 6,000 euros a month for honestly survival. Like having a place to stay at night, having food. I buy food daily because I can't store it, because that makes it too easy to drug me, which they've done on many occasions. So the idea is to find 6,000 people that are willing to donate €1 a month to me and keep doing that, so that I have an income to at least secure my basic needs for shelter. And when I've secured that, and I'm at least safe for the night and not constantly on the run and trying to figure out where I'm going to sleep tonight and how I'm going to do stuff, then more room opens up to tell more about what happened. I had previously shared that everything on my Facebook. I did that on a daily basis because all my attempts to write a book or like make videos to compromise my story have all been deleted, denied access. And when I was in Ireland, they completely kicked me out of my Facebook. So I am no longer able to access my own Facebook account nor close it. This happens with a lot of profiles I make. So it's a pattern where I make a profile and I get locked out of my own profile, and then often they've done this before, they will take over their profile and start posting really nasty shit or nasty comments to people where people think that it is me, destroying my reputation and making people turn away and no longer helping me. So that's why we're doing this together, and that's why a lot of the communication goes through Thiska and not my own. Well, the only social media I have left now is YouTube, but it's basically useless because they'll let me post videos of my art. You can find those. But the minute I want to say anything that is more sensitive, the video just gets deleted. Comments get deleted. People are unable to like videos, so a lot of people want to like them, but then let me know through other people like, hey, I can't even like your videos.
Or the video just goes black.
Oh yeah, or the video goes black, or the profile goes down, making it look like nobody's interested, nobody cares. So don't let them fool you. A lot of people care. They're just digitally trying to make it look like nobody's sticking up for me, nobody gives a shit, which is untrue. Yeah, so for now I'm sort of safe, or at least have a place to stay until Wednesday, and after Wednesday my funds are completely gone. So that's why we chose to do this first, because I'm very willing to tell a lot more about what happened and who did it and how I healed that and how I keep my mind sane and my focus. Emotionally, I'm doing pretty okay compared to a few years ago. That part of my healing has gone very well, but physically I'm a mess. But I can't share any very dangerous stuff if I don't even have a place to stay for the night. Oh yeah, and the entire region in the eastern part of the country where I had asked for help with the local government, just to give you an idea of what happens the minute I have access to somebody who actually could help me. For all those appointments that you have to make with all these organizations that are trying to find out if they can help you, you have to be in that region. So you get a letter address. It's not a real address, but you at least are like registered. We succeeded in doing that, but that also means that if you want to apply for welfare or any of the stuff that you need, you have to be in that region. So the minute you leave the region, you no longer are entitled to that help. So what Network then does is try to get me out of that region. So for instance, on my phone, that means that the minute I try to look for a hotel in the eastern part of the Netherlands, there are no hotels. So I will look on Google Maps and there are no hotels visible at all.
Not just that they are fully booked, but they don't show up in the results.
So even if I have internet access, it's very limited. There are subjects that I cannot Google. booking will. When I was on the run in France, and I was looking for a hotel in Lyon, is a giant city. Booking literally said there are no hotels in Lyon. So I found a way around that. But just to give you an idea, if you cannot call people, if the phone gets blocked right away, the only option you have is physically walking to somebody's station, which is quite demanding for me because I'm very limited in my energy and pain levels in how much I can walk on a day, and it takes so much time. So if I'm in a hotel and I can't call the local government, I have to walk there, which is another half an hour, go to the desk, find them. And because the local governments in the eastern part of the country said they cannot help me, or they can only help me if I accept going either to the police or going to psychiatrists that are of the network, which is not an option, then unfortunately they can't help me. And I was unable to find any more housing or accommodation for the night, so I literally had to leave that region, which also means that I most likely have lost all of the art that I made 5 months. So I'm really sorry for people who wanted to buy a painting, but I think it's not the first time that I had to leave everything behind or that everything gets destroyed, but I'm not sure if I will be able to access that. I kind of think I won't, so it's pretty much lost at this point. We're pausing this video because I get emotional. One thing I forgot to say is that there are also quite a lot of people who have offered me a place to stay that would be an option because they live in the city center, for instance. But I have a hard rule that I do not stay over at anybody's house if you have kids. If there's kids sleeping there, it's fucking dangerous, and I'm just not doing that because they will use the kids to target and manipulate and harm the situation. And I'm not going to bring my shit to kids' houses. So that's why there's a lot of people who are currently helping me that would really want to help me by offering me a place to stay, but they have kids. That's what I wanted to share.
And then one more thing for people who really don't have the space to donate at the moment and still want to offer support and help. An idea is to at least tell 2 people in your environment that you trust about Ellen, show the website, share her story, share this video perhaps, and maybe they can donate. And if not, they can find 2 people who they can tell, and imagine how far that can go. It's the pay it forward way, right? We all know.
And it's fractal because it grows exponentially.
Yeah. You can make a little math.
You can make a math tree. Like if I tell 2 people, and they tell 2 people, and they tell 2 people, and those people tell 2 people, within a few iterations, you're very fast on 1 million people who know.
So that really helps more than you might feel.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
And thank you for helping us. Because, can I close the conversation?
Sure.
Okay. Despite the fact that I'm asking for my safety and that I feel I deserve a life and this needs to end, there are so many children right now who are in it and being trafficked. And they take the kids from schools and daycares. This network has their own schools and their own daycares. So there's a reason why the Netherlands is like the top #1 country, where 70% of the child porn worldwide comes from this country. So we're not just asking, but there's proof of my child porn. If I disappear, and if all the people who open their mouths are just being killed off disappear, then those kids have no chance. Like, it really needs to stop.
What I would really like to emphasize now, before I go into the next portion of this presentation, is that using social media, using technology to communicate this, it's problematic. So as Ellen had described in her video, how sometimes there will be hackers who impersonate her and try to mess up communications. I also want to say that if you receive anything from me that seems out of character for me, or if I go dark, or if it seems like I'm not posting anything, please reach out to me personally, because chances are there's some sort of blocking, some sort of shenanigans going on. And over the years, I've learned to just kind of accept that, and and just kind of reach out to my friends in person to say, hey, this is what's happening. Let's just talk one-on-one and in person, because that's the most reliable source of communication. So I want to share with you some things that had happened over the last couple of days since Ellen and Thiska released this video. What had happened was, when they released the video, there was all kinds of shenanigans going on at YouTube. I will put up the graphics here, and you can see by the timestamp and by the number of views that they go up and they go down, and there's no consistency to them. So like Ellen says, what this does is it sends the message that nobody cares. And that's something that we need to talk about, because a lot of us are putting out so much work, generating so much content, generating art, and generating writing, that it seems like that nobody cares or nobody's paying attention. And that can be very demoralizing. So that's why we really have to talk about what are the motivations of these proprietary interests who are blocking, this kind of communication. I mean, I just created an event that I'm going to be having in a few weeks, and I invited 100 people to that just to see who would respond. And in 3 days, nobody responded to that event. And yeah, that's auspicious to me, and that's something that we need to talk about, because some of us are really trying to do something that's going to make a difference in this world, and we know people who are making a difference in this world, and there's this block in communication from connecting. So I'm going to now share the video I made about a year ago, which features Ellen's writing and Ellen's artwork. So that way you get to know Ellen more as an artist, as a healer, as someone who's trying to really do some good in this world. And before I go into that video, I'm just going to share with you something that happened with me, and why I believe that anybody who wants to have this conversation is truly brave. And I'm not trying to make it sound like there's heroism involved here, or that there's some kind of great courage. I mean, it's just love. It's just something that's natural. But as I was going out the other day to buy equipment to make this video, I was stopped at a light, and it was a red light, and I got a ding on my phone. I keep my phone up on the periphery so I can follow directions on the navigator, and it was just a quick ding that said Thiska had thanked me for sharing the video that she had produced. So I said, okay, great. So I just turned that off, and then all of a sudden I look, and the light's green, and a tractor trailer, an Amazon Prime tractor trailer, goes rushing through the red light, and in full speed ahead, not stopping. So that was kind of like a message from the angels, the universe, or whatnot, saying, look, there are forces against you, but there's also forces, working with you. Because if I would have been in a hurry, and if I would have gone right when the light turned green, I don't know if I would be here today to tell you this story and to share this with you. So yeah, we are in something that is, I don't know, that takes courage. And courage, the root word of courage is cœur, which is French for heart. meaning we have heart, we have love. And we're not trying to do this work to challenge anybody or to fight anybody. We just want to be open now. We just want to be open and deepen the connection. And I believe that saves lives. I think it saved my life. So here's the video I produced last year called The Story That Didn't, and it's by Ellen. My name is Mike Schumann, and I'm going to be reading a piece called The Story That Didn't by Den Hollander. My intention in sharing this with you today is to share a story that people aren't paying attention to. It's a story of a friend of mine, who's been through rape, murder, torture. And I kind of think of this video right now as an audition of sorts, because I'm bringing my heart to reading this, and it's an audition not to create an art piece that can be commercially exploited, but to invite you into a conversation. So it's a conversation about some really dark things that are happening in our world. It's a conversation about how organized child abuse really is. So what I'm asking is to begin a conversation. And my intention is to commit this story to memory so that I get better at presenting it. And I do want to have those deeper conversations. So yeah, I am looking for feedback. The feedback is not, I don't want to hear what you think about what's good or bad, right or wrong about this. I want to hear what resonates with you and where did you feel a disconnect. And I'm hoping we can bring artists together, people who have spiritual gifts together, to start having the conversations that we've been afraid of having. Once upon a time, there was a story that did not want to be told. Nobody wants to listen to me, the story said, if someone asked. I'm too true to be good, and people don't like that. The people want fairy tales that mesmerize and stories that end well. The story lisped softly. I'm not like that. I'm not enchantingly beautiful, and I don't end well. As a matter of fact, I don't end at all. My story is still ongoing and has been happening for a long, long time. I'm too real. I don't have periods, just commas. People don't like that. The story didn't even have a book to live in, like normal stories do. Instead, it was scattered and spread all across the worldwide spiderweb in the lands where no one was paying attention. Everyone is disgusted by me, the story said. Even those who try to write me down are disgusted by me. At first I tried, to be told. I cried out loud and as hard as I could until somebody found me. But then, when they started writing, things always went down very fast. Some lost themselves in sadness and ended up insane. Others disappeared. And a number of them were killed by the people I tell about. And the few who made it through soon found out that they were the only ones who wanted to listen to me. I'm no fun at parties. I don't do well around the Christmas tree, let alone before bedtime. I even awaken a nightmare, the story said. I keep everybody up at night. It's because I don't end well. And who wants to know what's out there, what's true? There in those places we don't name, where children die and decent people are the opposite of what they seem to be. Who wants to be a dead hero in a story that no one's waiting for? The story was in bad shape. Because it was never really told, it never really ended. So it continued to go on and on and on. Every day added another page. Slowly, it started to form its own web within the worldwide spider web. Then one day a girl woke up, somewhere in the lands that started to pay attention. In hindsight, it's hard to tell who found who. History will keep it at, they found each other. The girl found the story, and the story found itself in her. It was a wondrous duo. And just like the rest, she did her very best. First she became raged with madness, then she lost half her mind in the sadness. The people who were in the story, it didn't take them long to find her. And she was scared, very scared, but she did it anyway. So she wrote and read and told whoever she met about the story, especially to those who didn't want to hear it. She told it at parties, around the Christmas trees, and right before bedtime. By this time, she kept her own nightmares awake for months. But there were not enough ears ready to hear, and there were not enough eyes able to see. The girl became desperate, and that's never really a good idea when you're in a fairy tale. She broke her heart, and then her head. And after trying everything she could, she finally gave up. She took the story and put it on a plank where hardly anyone ever looked, in a house that nobody visited anymore. She whispered to the story, "I can't tell you like this. This is too much, and not the way. I need to be stronger, and no longer angry, and no longer sad or confused. I'll be back, I promise. When I'm done, I will come back." And she closed the door in her head and opened the door to her heart again. The story was quite understanding and only blamed her a little bit. Seasons passed, and the girl did things that no one dreamed of, but that everyone thought were exceptionally special. Every once in a while, she forgot about the story, and in those moments, she was happy. But the story never let go of her entirely. Someday, it has to be possible, she said to herself, to be in the same room with the story and stay happy, to tell the story without it breaking me. Someday, this will be a love story, she decided. I don't care what they say. I don't care that they say it's never been done. So I think I can do it. And she tried her best, a little harder. Months passed. At times, the story would knock on her windows, and she would read a bit, write some, but it was still too painful to talk about. So once again, she closed that door. The story was starting to lose faith. Every time she came, it had hope. Every time she left, it lost a little of itself. The more she said no, the less the story believed in her. One day she was done, she decided. She could think about the story without it ripping her apart. She was no longer angry nor scared, let alone confused. Her heart now had a warming glow, and the fire and lights inside were turned on. Now I can tell you, she said to the story, all the way without leaving parts out, without being scared of the people you tell about. Go ahead, I'm ready. But the story remained silent. I don't want to be told anymore, it mumbled. What's the point? Sure, heads will come off, mouths will fall wide open, children will be saved and children will die. And then what? Don't get me wrong, it won't be boring, but what's the point? They don't want to hear it. It will just make everybody more miserable. Is that what you want? No, I'm out. Just leave me alone. They don't want to listen, and I no longer want to be told. Go find another story to tell. The girl thought about these words for a moment. But you're my story, she said. So what? The story was getting agitated. You don't always have to tell your own story. It's really not necessary. Tell them about dragons and castles. Tell of the times to come and times to go. That's what people really want to hear these days. Tell something about letting go, something fashionable. Put an ice castle around it and they'll love it. But leave me alone if you know what's good for you. The girl took a moment to think. And then something miraculous happened. So miraculous that all stories worldwide for a moment fell silent because of it. All over the fairy tale forests, and far, far beyond the deep, earth-shattering silence could be heard. Even the horses were quiet, which really had never happened before. Then the story said, "Okay, if you think that will work, I'm willing to try." "I really do," the girl said. "But you gotta believe in it again. Otherwise it won't work. It's how it goes with everything." The story nodded awkwardly. Then softly, so softly that only the wind could hear it, there was a whisper. "Okay." The girl nodded, visibly pleased with the answer, and from the depths of her purse, she fished out a pouch. A little bag tied with a little ribbon. It took some effort to open the little bag, but then she turned it around and took out her most precious possession. "Here," she said. "This is my innocence. You can borrow it until yours is back." The story looked at the innocence. The innocence looked inside the story. "It's a bit like an abyss," the story said. The girl nodded, confirming. "I know. That's why I didn't see it at first." "Does it hurt?" the story asked. "Only in the beginning," the girl answered. Together they watched the innocence for a moment. Then the story opened its mouth and swallowed the innocence whole. And finally started talking. And you couldn't hear it. It wasn't in the newspapers and nowhere on TV. But everybody in the lands, for a moment, paid attention. Because deep down inside, a rumble had started. The lands were waking up. The clocks pointed at 11:11. And that was the beginning.